democracy only in terms of election. But beyond that, democracy is a culture, democracy is a way of life, democracy is a conviction as well. So we are saddled with indirect democracy because of the huge size of the country and a massive population. I would urge you to watch the parliament proceedings to get the taste of democracy in action. You can take one global issue and how the international community democratically operates, and you get an idea about that also. We are fortunate, like what the sir said, we are extremely fortunate that we live in the largest democracy, the largest country on earth in terms of population, and the largest democracy. And the quality of the democracy leaves much to be, debated. Quantitatively, we are the largest. So democracy is something which is to be seen from a number of angles. We look at democracy only in terms of election. But beyond that, democracy is a culture, democracy is a way of life, democracy is a conviction as well. So therefore, when we discuss about democracy and how to transmit democracy, to permeate democracy, how to imbibe democracy in educational institutions, teachers do have a very, very important role to play. And that is the focus of the entire discussion. It's not about democracy per se, but I shall be very brief on the very concept of democracy, which is of Greek origin. You know that in the power of the people, demos and kratos, the Greek words, that deal with the power of the people. The people, let the people speak, let the people decide their government. So democracy, basically in classrooms, in colleges, universities, in schools, in textbooks, is taught as a form of government. It is a form of government, like famously Abraham Lincoln said, it is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So it is a kind of democracy that we are familiar with, is a representative kind of democracy in which people do not take part in governance directly, but because it's a huge country of 1.42 billion people, they can't participate in governance directly, so they let the representatives do the task. So it is an indirect democracy, but countries like Switzerland, which are very, very small, there is direct democracy that prevails. There are instruments like referendum, plebiscite, recall, and initiative. And when the legislature makes a law, that bill needs to be referred to the people for final approval. That is referendum. But there can be option for the people to initiate a legislation. That is the initiative, then later to be ratified by the legislature. And then the representatives of the people in Switzerland can be recalled if the provision is there. When the Swiss constitution, the provision of recall is available. In India, once you elect an MP or MLA or a panchayat member, you are saddled with him or her until the term is over. So there's no provision to recall. But that's an ideal scenario in Switzerland. And of course, there is a plebiscite. We have taken plebiscite on a number of occasions, but not on serious issues, on locally only. But the plebiscite as such is something which we promised in Kashmir to decide the fate of Kashmir. Let the Kashmiris decide the fate of plebiscite, but we haven't conducted it so far. But of course, we have famously seen the plebiscite in operation in Scotland. The Scottish people decided to continue with Britain, and that was an important political question debated in UK. And we have seen a plebiscite to decide the fate of Quebec in Canada, and Quebec people decided to continue with Canada. So there, of course, we have seen a plebiscite taking place in Catalonia in Spain to decide the fate of Barcelona, that Catalonian region. And still, There are plebiscites taking place at a broader level in the world, but direct democracy is not exactly applicable in India. So we are saddled with indirect democracy because of the huge size of the country and a massive population. So now, the question, the reason why you and I are here in this platform is to see how a democratic culture can be imbibed in universities. And as teachers, you're from various disciplines. Some of you are from natural science, physical science, environmental science, and very many are from social sciences. I'm a political science professor, retired, and some of you are social science professors and history, economics, sociology, psychology, politics, etc., etc. So you might be familiar, a sociology professor, a political science professor may be familiar with the democratic norms, but need not necessarily a zoology or botany or mathematics person. Of course, they have learned it in classrooms when they were students. But for them, let me give you a number of a bit of a practical suggestion, number of suggestions based on which you can develop a healthy discussion. And I shall be very brief because I want to allot maximum time to you for raising queries, because you can be very specific about your queries, because I can only be generalist, because this is a general kind of a thing, how to effectively imbibe or transmit democracy as a method in colleges, campuses. So one, the democracy is to be seen as a process. When it's a process, how can the democratic process take place on campus? Of course, in schools and colleges, you have the school parliament in school and college union in colleges, and the university union where elections take place. So the catchword here is election. A very young person, a young student, is initiated into the regimen of choices through election. Election, college union or school parliament election is an avenue in which preferred candidate can be chosen. This is an option given to the student. And of course, there is canvassing, there is some kind of propaganda machinery running, and you have to eventually, political or non-political person, there can be politically activated unions. They are all interest groups, they are not political parties. You have the NSUI of the Congress, you have ABVP, Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, BJP, you have All India Students Federation of CPI, you have the SFI, Student Federation of India of CPM. All these things, they are not political parties, they are student organizations which are at best called interest groups and pressure groups that function in close alliance with political parties. Some of the colleges and universities have election on the basis of these kind of students' union politics, and some are independent. I think Rajgiri institutions are mostly independent. Election takes place over there, so that is how they get a taste of election, a taste of voting, a taste of choices. So that is one thing. So what can the teachers do here? Teachers cannot involve and interfere. They can only be the presiding officers in the booths where students come and vote, but they can at best be guardian angels. They are guardians. Shall we call it a kind of guided democracy on campus? The students are guided into a democratic process, and they have a glimpse of the shape of things to come in the larger world when they leave the campuses. That is one method that many universities adopt. And of course, from the teacher's perspective, democracy is very much a part of the game, a cup of tea for the teachers in their vocation. Teachers also have the right. Some of you are teaching in management-owned colleges and universities, and some of you are in government direct universities, and you have your rights. Your rights are represented through the unions and student and teachers organizations. So teachers organizations are very much democratically functioning bodies. They have election, they have the leaders, they negotiate with the government. It's all a part of the democratic build-up which teachers are introduced into. And for the students, again, the teachers can help the students On campus, the teachers can certainly help the students organize model parliament. So the sanctum sanctorum of democracy is the parliament. Le parle, to speak. The parliament is a place where people's representatives speak on behalf of the people. We have single member constituencies, 543 of them, and each constituency is represented by one person, one MP, member of the parliament. We have the first past the post system in which the person getting the maximum vote will get elected, no matter whether he or she secures 50% or not. Then that is the first past the post system. That is what we follow. So we have the parliament and student parliament, model parliament can be conducted exactly like parliament, where there's a prime minister at one end and opposition leader at the other end, and the treasury benches and opposition benches, a speaker presiding, and the president's address happening, everything dramatically enacted or dramatically introduced as the model parliament. We used to organize model parliament in the institution where I worked. I used to be coordinating the activities of the model parliament. It was an ongoing program, and there used to be model parliament competitions in which roles are assigned. And there's, let's say, 50-member parliament. Okay, there's a sample parliament in which one person prime minister, 5 or 6 ministers, one opposition leader, important members in the opposition, and the speaker. Speaker's post is very important, presiding officer. So the parliament, model parliament, can be set, and an issue, one or two issues may be debated. Maybe a bill can be introduced, and the procedure of the bill, the introduction, the first reading, the committees, the second reading, the third reading, and the passing by the voice vote, and also the division vote. All things are, in a nutshell, everything is organized in which you get a taste. The students get a taste of parliament as if they are in the real parliament. Of course, the institutions can contemplate visit to Lok Sabha. You need to get the permission of the Lok Sabha Secretariat or Rajya Sabha Secretariat before you make a visit. So that can be exposure trip also. You need to get the permission of the speaker. The speaker is the one who runs the parliament as such. So you have to get the permission of Om Birla now, because you know that it's a controversial kind of election. And of course, Indian democracy is very exciting, in which there are heated debates and discussions, and politically a lot of bad blood has flowed while there was canvassing. It was now the election to 18th Lok Sabha was conducted in a very, very intense manner. The NDA got the majority with 393 seats, and the India Alliance, led by Congress, got a sizable number, much better than the earlier UPA, with 234 members. So a strong ruling party or ruling front and a strong opposition is the de facto scenario, and which hectic debates and heavy exchange of ideas can be expected in the present day parliament. I would urge you to watch the parliament proceedings to get the taste of democracy in action. So this is about the parliament. From your part, you can help students organize model parliament, help them assign the thing, but let the students take the initiative. You can only be the guide by the side rather than the sage on the stage. Can be helping them out with the model parliament thing. That's one suggestion. And also, it's not a bad idea as a proposal to organize model United Nations General Assembly, in which different countries, it's not a decision-making body as such, it's an opinion-making body. Of course, Security Council is more important. You cannot organize it there. In colleges, we used to organize the model United Nations, in which different countries with different ideas come and debate global issue, can take one global issue and how the international community democratically operates. And you get an idea about that also. So that is how the democracy as a process is transmitted to the students on campus. Now, another way, democracy is not just a process, it is a value also. Democratic values and democratic tradition is all meant for creating ideal citizens, responsible citizens for tomorrow. So college days, university days, student days is just a build-up for creating or evolving a responsible citizenry. So this is the idea. Then how to go about it? I can come up with some suggestions. So inside the classroom, the best place is inside the classroom. You can be democratic. You teachers, I'm talking to, hopefully, I'm talking to teachers as such. Teachers can be democratic. What do you mean by democratic teaching? Of course, inside the classroom, please allow questioning. Please allow interrogation by the students. You're not the last word. You can be only helping them out. It's not a teacher-centric education that is being envisaged now in modern educational lexicons. It's a student-centric education. What exactly they want, you can give the gist and then come up with discussion, ample time for debates and discussions and seminars and all these things in which students can air their opinion. They can debate issues. You can take general issues. You can debate subject-related issues. You can discuss them. Encourage a culture of dialogue, a multi-logue. Let everybody speak. An ideal democracy is a place where people are, without any inhibitions, air their voice and opinion. They demand things. Let them demand. Let them say. So this is a culture that you have to try inside the classroom. So teacher needs to be extremely democratic in his or her conviction is my suggestion, and hopefully you can do that. When I was in university for 33 long years of teaching, I used to convert at least 1 or 2 periods per week into seminar hours in which I allow the students to take the topic, decide the topic. I won't give the topic. A current issue or something relevant to the academics is taken by the students, and I ask one person by rotation, one person to come onto the stage and be as the presiding officer. I go to the last bench and sit and watch. And the person in charge, the speaker or whatever, the president, presiding officer, regulate the proceedings. So this is how things, transpired, in our kind of classroom situation where it was democracy. Or in case there is pandemonium, there is heavy debate or unruly scenario, which hardly ever happens. They learn to be responsible. They learn to give time to others. That's also democratic thing. They find time to listen to others. That's also democratic value. Listen to an opinion which is not that savory for you. So that is also very much democratic by conviction. So this is how you can convert the classrooms into very dynamic places. Not every hour should be a teaching hour. There are hours, provided you have 15 or 16 hours per week teaching, maybe 20 hours per week teaching. At least 2 hours per week can be, and if you can club these two for a 2-hour debate session or a discussion session or a kind of seminar session, interactive seminar in which your ruling should be final, but you will be at the back bench, all ears. Let them speak. But when you are the center stage, all eyes upon you. But democracy requires listening also. So you know what is minister's role? Minister means servant. Prime Minister means first servant. It is not a position of authority, but theoretically, it is a position whereby you are destined to serve the people. Minister is servant. So teacher serves the students. So that kind of humility is required inside the classroom. And also, very much democratic to be evaluated by the students, your own students. Let them evaluate you. So now it is mandatory. In certain places, it's mandatory. The slips are given, but there should not be any strings attached to it. And open freedom should be there for the students to evaluate you. Let them be critical. Let them be appreciative. At the same time, let them be critical of you also. So you can be like an opposition in the parliament criticizing the government. It's the government elected by the people. It's like you are like the government, because you are in charge. But let there be criticism, let there be debate, let there be small correction. It's not always criticism, it is some correction that the students suggest. So please give ear to that. So this is another suggestion that I can have. I can give you. And so this is all the classroom level dynamics. But on campus, it is something else. The students, the representatives can be inducted into various committees on campus. So campus is full of committees, right? What's the point in teachers in every committee? Let there be students in committees. There are institutions which allow a student representative even in the managing committee. Of course, there are institutions where teachers representatives are hard to come by in the management committee, but there are institutions whereby teachers representative, elected teachers representative is in the managing committee or the governing council of the institution. So it's a democratic practice. So let the management, the governing body, listen the requirements of the teaching staff, the non-teaching staff, and the student fraternity on campus to get a real perspective of the campus dynamics. So only then administration will be fine. So that also is a democratic value. And of course, student-led associations are working on campus. In the college where I was working, we had a body called the Brains Trust. The Brains Trust is a group of 50 odd students, the very best on the campus. That is the crux of the campus, cream of the campus. And they come every day. They meet after this college time, and they come together in a round or before they leave, discuss important issues. And also, they are the opinion makers. They are the movers and shakers on campus. Of course, they are not elected as such, but they are somehow selected on the basis of a competitive test. Very high IQ level students who can contribute cerebrally to the growth of the institution. So this is one practice. You can call it in any name, not just Brains Trust, any name. There are nature clubs and associations in which democratic functioning can flourish in these bodies. So before I wind up, let me give you two pillars without which the democratic convictions simply cannot prosper. One is the Constitution of India as such. Every person, every student, every parliament member, every citizen of the country should uphold the Constitution. Look, Constitution happened to be the zing thing in last week's swearing in ceremony of the MPs. Every MP of the opposition upheld the Constitution. Narendra Modi, when he took over as the Prime Minister, kissed the Constitution, upheld the Constitution. So the country is governed, the democratic practices are prevailing in India based on the constitutional guarantee. It is not Modi's guarantee, it is Ambedkar and company's guarantee. It is the constitutional guarantee. So opposition is guaranteed the right to speak in the parliament, outside the parliament. Every citizen has the right to freedom of speech and expression guaranteed by Article 19 by the Constitution. The fundamental rights from Article 14 to 32 guaranteed by the Constitution, without which citizenship is meaningless. So democracy is very much, because Article 21 of the Constitution is very important, right to life. You can have a life in India, all right, as a citizen, but life with dignity, life with honor, life with pride, life with power, that is right to life. So nobody shall be deprived of his right to life or personal liberties except according to the procedure established by law, which means no arbitrary arrest, no frisking away by the police. Every citizen should be given a free trial. A student, before he is punished, should be tried properly by the college authorities. That's a right. That's a basic fundamental right of a student on campus. So this is a democratic conviction. The fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution and the spirit of the fundamental rights and human rights is very much democratic by nature. So Constitution happens to be a pillar on which democracy rests. The other pillar is the fourth estate. The first is legislature, second is executive, third is the judiciary. The fourth space or fourth estate in a democracy is undoubtedly the media. The print, electronic, and the new media happen to be the pillars of democracy. So this is something which is very important. How responsible the students and teachers use the media. Do they have access to the media? Do they have access to the news happening, that is the occurrences around, or are they confined to a localized situation, or are they confined to local sectarian interests? All things are very important. So mainstream print media, teachers should ideally familiarize, but take them to the library, please. At least once in a while, be with them in the library rather than telling them go to the library and hunt for books. Be with them and get them a taste, provide them a taste of library, and go to the shelf and pick up the book, and this book deals with this, and this shelf will be, if you're looking for such and such topics, this shelf will be good, and so give them a taste. So that's what a teacher can do. So this is also, and also introduce them to the journals and periodicals. So let the students read beyond the curriculum, beyond what you are assigned as a work. So beyond the, even a zoology teacher or a mathematics teacher can ask the students to read the newspaper and let them learn it, the mainstream thing. And of course, the television. I'm very much attached to the television. I'm very much available with the media, channels and channel discussion and political debates and social debates, economic debates, all these things. So right from the student days, I've been active with the media kind of thing. Although I was a academic, very much an academic cannot turn a blind eye to the media. That's very, very important. And the new media, use it to the hilt and use it responsibly. That is where most of the criticism, most of the comments, most of the corrections come. So it's a silent place where nobody has a face, but still you articulate your opinion in a platform which is your own, WhatsApp groups and Twitter and FB or whatnot. So please use them responsibly. And before I open the session for discussion, I think I can go a bit beyond 7 o'clock if you can still wait, because I have no daily program at 7. So I'm free to take a few questions. My last quote is this. I quote a word, a concept from the Zulu language of South Africa. That is Ubuntu. You know Ubuntu as a software, Ubuntu. The real meaning of Ubuntu is I am because you are. You are a teacher. You can say that you are a teacher because there are students. A teacher is a teacher through students, right? Only through students. Otherwise, a teacher is not a teacher. Student can learn from anywhere, but teacher is a teacher only if there are students in front of you or as online or as registered participants. Otherwise, there is no teacher. So with all humility, you accept that fact. A teacher is not a teacher by his or her own right, but teacher is a teacher because of the students. So that is why I urge you to bring out, to unleash a democrat in you. Be democratic, you uphold your own right and the students' right, and let campus be a free place. Let 1,000 ideas blossom on campus and enjoy along with the students and the flourishing of the idea and the healthy criticisms and suggestions, and let campus be a very bright place to live with democracy all written all around the horizon. So that is the democratic culture you should take students to and you should live in.
You talked about a lot of activities that has to be done in the campus to instill that democratic atmosphere. But at the same time, I would say that a lot of our youth, as some of the surveys show, they are not happy with the way the democracy is taking place in our country because so much corruption is there and poverty, that inequality has only increased. And some even prefer autocratic rule also. So in this atmosphere, And also we had for the last 1 month various discussions on how students can be guided into statesmanship, becoming more involved, getting more engaged in the civic activities, community involvement, so that they also get involved in policy making. So these are all things that we have been discussing in 2-3 other events. So what is your take on that?
Yes, yes. The lovely to hear that you are trying to groom the students for statesmanship. That's a catchword. Statesmanship. It's not ordinary citizens. What we need from elite institutions like Rajagiri, what is required is quality leadership with a sense of propriety, level-headedness. So statesmanship, see, given the responsibility, the students and teachers, of course, given the responsibility. But the question is, are you there to give them the responsibility? Or will the establishment, the so-called government of management or authorities retain every power only if power, it's a shade of power, is delegated to the students and teachers? They can be groomed into decision makers for the future. So the campus is the best place where these kind of grooming takes place. So these are the avenues. I've listed a few avenues whereby you can use it. But of course, when a student becomes critical of the teachers or government or governing body, don't isolate him or her. Say, give ear to what he or she has to say. Perhaps the criticism may go a bit annoying, maybe a bit annoying for the establishment, but establishment gets an opportunity to correct its follies. For example, if the facilities are not up to the mark, so when there is a student agitation or a student demand for improved facility, then management gets an opportunity to correct wherever there is a shortage or lacuna. You can fill it up unless there is a constructive criticism coming from some corner. So, of course, criticism, you see, this is the Marxian method. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. There is a Marxian, basically, the Marxian module is that. So, there's an idea, of course, idea of governance that you have from the part of management. But there is an idea of governance on the other side. So, this is a better form of governance. This is something what you need. And so then give them a task, a small task, not the entire task. Give a student or a problem child a small task. Within quotes, problem child, no child is a problem child. Within quotes, give a complaining boy or girl a responsibility and see how he or she performs. And then if he's unable to perform, then say these are the reasons why it cannot be done. So this is the best, this is a beautiful method of communicating to students that say, now you are given the responsibility to put this thing in order, but you are unable to do it. But these are the practical difficulties you can explain. That is why I say a culture of dialogue should always be there. But of course, management is management. Management has its own prerogative. Guard it closely. Certainly, I am a part of an educational management system. I am the managing committee of an institution. So I know what management dynamics is all about. Management has certain interest, certain vision, and it's a management vision that runs the institution. And teachers are a part of management. At the same time, they're a part of the fraternity, including students also on campus. So teachers have a double responsibility. On the one side, be part of the management. On the other side, along with the students, they are a part of they have a shared responsibility as torchbearers of freedom on campus. So that is how things should move.
There's a question from Dr. Varghese Pandalukaran. Can a teacher allow students to disrupt his or her lecture before they can fully understand what teacher want to teach? Will it not create a state of confusion, not useful for the class at large?
Yes, this is a wonderful question. So this occurred to me also a number of times. So at the beginning of the presentation, I said you can interrupt me right away, anytime. You can raise a point. you may think when you are on stage, you're all teachers, right? When you are on the dais, on the stage, all eyes are upon you, and you think that everything flows from you. My humble submission is no. Today, teacher is not the source of information. Teacher is one of the many sources of information. Students can seek information, hunt for information from a number of avenues and channels. You can at best coordinate everything, streamline everything, bring it within a subject mode, syllabus mode, and transmit. So when you are about to say something, or when you are in the process of explaining a point, perhaps one student feels that this is already learned in class 10 or 9. So if you limit that explanation, it would be helpful, because we have all come to a certain stage in which these are the fundamentals. But for the benefit of somebody who is less equipped, you can explain briefly, but there's no point in explaining things that are already there in the textbook by reading from the text or asking a student to read from the text. So these are things which I would, had I been a student now in this 21st century, never studied in 21st century, I was a 20th century student and the 21st century teacher. But had I been a student now, I would certainly get up and say, sir, please put the book down whenever you can. Look at us, please look at us. Look at our face and communicate. We would love to see your lovely face. Look at us. And so try to relate the subject or point to the larger world. This is what we expect from you. Unless a student directly tells you, how do you know? You have certain notions about teaching because you know everything. All right, you are a learned person, you know everything, and you teach everything from the exam-oriented perspective. All right, mark, exam, everything needed. But here, democracy, this is the topic, democracy. Democratic conviction means going a bit beyond syllabus, beyond the textbook. It's a value system that we want to have on campus, a responsible citizenry in which let them ask questions, let them be critical. Your flow of ideas may be disrupted, but be very patient. You can always catch the flow. You have your period, you have your class hours at your disposal. You can catch up with the speed later on. But don't be unduly perturbed about the break of the flow when you are, see, remember, classroom is not for making, this is what I believe, at least this is what I have to share, is not to make thundering speeches. That is for, let the politicians make it on stages. How many people listen? Classroom is a place where it should be interaction. Only then people take you, students take you very seriously, right? Let them also have a space in the sun. Not only you, let them all have a space in the sun, but don't let them be unruly. So discipline, yes, discipline is required, but discipline should be spontaneous rather than engineered is what I should suggest.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mohan Varghese. I think there's Pandurang has raised his hand. Would you like to ask the question?
Panduranga, yes.
Yes, would you like to ask the question?
Please, sir.
Students, there's another question. Students have many subjects to study, such as science and maths in a tightly packed syllabus. So why do we need to include democracy education in the curriculum? We have other means, including media, to learn about democracy.
See, nobody learns about democracy from any one given source. I would ideally say they live democracy provided they are given an environment, a milieu in which they can live in democracy. The best place to start democratic living is home. At home, if your grandfather or father takes all decisions, what do you feel? No democracy, right? The father should consult with mother, children, father's father, or whoever in the family, and arrive at some kind of a consensus, because priorities, combined priorities, right? It's not father's priority, it is not mother's priority, it is not your children's priority, It is combined priority of the household. Only if there are healthy interactions within the home, how can it happen? So therefore, see, that is, you cannot learn it from political science class. Democracy, democratic value and democratic culture is something which has nothing to do with theoretical political science or democracy as an institution put forward by Abraham Lincoln or Aristotle or whoever. So it is it's a lifestyle. Let me reiterate, democracy to me, for this particular class at least, is a lifestyle, it is a conviction from birth until you die. You live democracy and be a part of it, enjoy it, and you be a participant in the process at home, in schools and colleges, at workplace, every place there is a glimpse of democracy happening, and enjoy it, relish it, is what I'm saying. You can't really learn from a textbook. Only definitions you can learn. The functioning of democracy and the conviction, the inner meanings, you can imbibe only through living democratic, right?
And another question, I have seen many youngsters who are not bothered about politics, democracy, etc. Maybe that because of ignorance or they are not interested in the current vote bank political system. So how can we make them interested in politics?
See, there is a preconceived notion that politics is all about political parties and governance and all that. No, every human activity is politics. As a political science professor, but one in charge of setting the curriculum, I can authentically say that politics today is seen as a human activity, and the center of politics once upon a time was state and government. Now it is individual, that is human being. Every human interaction, any activity about man and man, man and group, and man and nature, and man and administration, everything is politics. At home there is politics. In groups there are politics. In political parties there is politics. So politics should not be seen as the game of politicians, and vote bank politics certainly is for power, is for capturing power. So that's the theoretical part of it. What we are more bothered about is democracy as a culture, as a conviction. So therefore, youngsters nowadays get a kind of antipathy towards the things they think political. Everything is political. When you go for a job, when you hunt for a job, when you make an application, it is political, right? Every human activity in the state and in society, in general public, is politics. So seemingly things, when you watch a movie, it is political, right? When you don't get food, it is political. When you get excess food, it is political. When you waste food, it is political. Why do you waste food? Right? These are all ethical questions that you ask rhetorically, which is actually politics. So politics, you breathe politics actually. So when you assign politics as the game of politicians, it is a partial way of looking at politics. The integral and holistic way of looking at politics is a human life. So then you get a better perception. You can't escape from politics. Even though you say, no politics, I'm not interested in politics, you are very much making a political statement. The very statement that I'm not interested in politics is a political statement to me.
Okay. Panduranga Swami, I think he is a librarian. So you talked about getting students to the library. So today's educational institutions, majority of the users are not physically visiting due to electronic resources and other site. Faculty members are not motivated or brainwashing the students to visit the library. So this is his comments. So would you like to?
Oh yes, lovely, Mr. Panduranga Swami. Librarian is a very important. There was a time when we were all students, my generation, I'm an old man, so when we were students, we used to relish the library and good contact with the librarian, and we would be looking for no internet at that time, no computers available in the form of PC. So books were very much, books and journals, periodicals and articles, very much we used to hunt them. And we used to enjoy the physical presence of books around us in the library, the very environment of the library. And now the new generation next, Gen Z, like what you say, the Gen Z prefers to be confined to the comfort of own limited space. And they have an equipment called the laptop or a mobile phone through which you can access every information. Information is at fingertip. All right, that's one way of looking at it. But there is nothing to substitute books and journals. The smell of books, the sight of the books, the very temperature of the newspaper when it arrives in the morning, hot newspaper, right? Hot newspaper with a hot cup of tea is a part of culture. That's the culture through which we groomed up. So there are things which the electronic media cannot give. And electronic media, the issue is that you become so selective. But when it comes to print media, especially newspapers and periodicals, you are given a big assortment of things in which you have to hunt for your article. Then in the process, you glance through various titles as such. But when you surf the net, you're very sharp. You reach your destination by your own navigation method. And in between, you miss out the frills and the entire fun is missing. So this is the problem with the not visiting the library and not seeing the newspaper. E-reading is all right. I also do it. But there is a judicious blend of physical space of the library being used and also the sourcing materials from the library through, we have in-flip net. So you have information superhighway, the books are flowing through the in-flip net. You can access any book from any library in the world relevant to you. You can access through the in-flip net. So your library should be the access point of the in-flip net. So all these things are there. But Mr. Librarian, I can tell you this, then encourage your students to come to the library physically rather than allowing them to, because it's a discipline. See, all students cannot throng the library at a given point of time. Impossible. Of course, there is it's a crammed feeling. You cannot. But of course, it should be something like culture that we initiated in my institutional library. We used to take the junior students batch by batch to the library and familiarize them. Some of them get back to the library. Some of them don't. You cannot make a student read a book. Because there is a famous quote, you can bring horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. The horse drinks water only if the horse feels thirsty and feels like drinking. Otherwise, horse will not drink. Reading is also like that. Library use also is like that. You can bring a student to library, but if you want to get him to read, you have to have a culture of reading generally available on campus, and peer pressure is very important. Your peer group read and certain kind of reading that they have, and you also tend to read. So therefore, you create an environment, you create a culture conducive for the library coming. Otherwise, the library will be a very dull and boring place. You can't make a lot of noise by discussing in the library. But of course, one corner, we used to earmark one corner for the chat in the library. The people come around, discuss with hush-hush tones. And of course, that's there. But, try something innovative. So otherwise, the libraries will die, the reading will die. So don't let the reading die. But democracy lives through reading also. Opinion maker, a very good communicator. Remember, a very good communicator is a well-read person from the print. Of course, he can access. See, if you want to make a speech, right? You can get a ready-made speech from the electronic media, all points, everything ready through the net. But if you want to be a spontaneous speaker, you get bits and pieces from every source, including newspapers and journals and periodical, and then internalize everything so that you can use it productively based on the occasion. So this is the grooming that needs to be done very democratically.
Yeah, we'll quickly take one or two questions. Should it be mandatory for politicians to study academic disciplines on democracy, politics, and the constitution before contesting for parliament or legislative assemblies, since all other jobs are based on qualifications?
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, right. I wish it is a part of the requirement, eligibility, but unfortunately, eligibility to be a voter is age only universal adult suffrage. And there was a time when it was not. In India, it was to us, but elsewhere, a certain educational qualification was required not only to become an MP, but to be eligible to vote, exercise franchise. So, yes, I'm coming to your question. Ministers and MPs, MLAs, and panchayat members, should they be learners of democracy? Should they be knowing lawmaking process before they come to the legislature? Ideally, yes, but unfortunately now there is no consideration, no educational qualifications prescribed to become an MP or MLA or a representative of the people. But ideally, but they are smarter than, see, I've noticed the kind of knowledge and wisdom that these politicians are, because every day actually, I meet politicians on TV screen. In my panel, there may be one or two politicians, BJP, Congress, CPM, some of the three, and I may be an independent political observer. So I interact with them sometimes directly when we are sitting side by side, or otherwise informally. A lot of people, the kind of knowledge that they have about the system in operation is sometimes, it's amazing. Some of the political science professors with MA, PhD, and postdoctoral research qualifications do not know how a law is made. They can theoretically teach how a law is being made. But the real parliamentarian, by real experience, look at Kodikkunnil Suresh, 8-time MP from Kerala, representing Mavelikara constituency now, earlier Adur constituency. 8-time. How many years he spent in the parliament? Half the life, he spent in the parliament, always involved either with the treasury bench. He was minister, and he was projected as a speaker candidate by the INTIA front. Lost, of course, But now, what I'm saying, Kodikkunnil was not a very good student as such. I know him. But he has improved leaps and bounds. So there is nothing like a real taste of power and a real environment. You put your hat into the ring and be in the ring. Only then the heat and dust of the ring will affect you. Otherwise, theoretically, nobody can learn democracy. Nobody can learn politics. It's actually practical. But theory learning can supplement the practical thing. See, you learn to speak first, then write, correct? Your mother tongue, right? Then that's how you are able to handle the mother tongue very, very well. But if you are learning, for very many Indians, they learn English. English is not our mother tongue. Mine is Malayalam, and you have different languages, and you think in another language and write in another language or speak in one language. This is very unnatural. So there is nothing wrong in a politician practicing politics and then getting back to the drawing board and learn the theory. Nothing wrong. It should not be, need not necessarily be the other way around. You learn politics and you learn everything about politics. You be knowledgeable like a professor of political science, and then contest election, win election. People may not want such people. People want to elect those who can be with them, who can understand people's problem. Then given the responsibility as a panchayat member or an MLA or MP, then at that time they get an opportunity to learn. So this is the beauty of it. So there are illiterate ministers who have done very well. So you have no great regard for Lalu Prasad Yadav as an intellectual, right? But Lalu is one person whom I adore. When he was a railway minister, he brought the right kind of people into the railway advisory board. And then that was the time when he was a politician, Pakka politician, RJD leader, socialist leader, RJD leader, Janata Party man, all Lalu, you won't give a very high percentage of marks for his academic prowess. But I would give him, because he is experienced man. He knows how to get things done. How to get things done is something which is very important. That when seats are empty in first class and all that, and AC, then his advisor said, sir, why don't you upgrade from the second class and the sleeper class to the first class, so that the all first class and upper class are all filled. Then you can reduce the waiting list and let the train travel in full strength. Simple thought. An academician will not have that simple thought. Only a politician with the proper advice. See, whether that politician has the right kind of acumen to get the right kind of advice is very much important. Academicians don't take advice. They say, I know better. I know everything. I know theoretically everything. But practically, sometimes they're a big zero. So it's a judicious blend of academic knowledge and real life experience that makes a good legislator and a minister.
Okay. There are actually two more questions. One is about use of AI in administration. Then another one about motivating frustrated youth into democratic values. That is by Sangeeta Gaikwad. I think that you have already covered.
I can be very brief. I can be very brief on both because the time, and I'm okay because my timing is all right. But because you can't stretch the session beyond a certain point, right? I hope I hope I am communicating reasonably. I mean, am I living up to your expectations?
Yes. Go ahead.
I'm not. Okay. And AI, artificial intelligence in administration. See, there are systems and processes which can be neutrally run by AI. But AI also is a programmed thing. But decision making can never be done by AI. AI goes on the basis of inputs given, programmed inputs. But on its own, only a life form like a cerebral human being can take a decision. The decision is not always constitutional or rule based. There are ethical human factors involved in decision making. So that's why in AI, if leaving everything to AI for administration is something which I don't recommend. But there are segments where complete neutrality, non-interference required. A strictly programmed AI can certainly help in administration, but ultimate decision making is to be done by human being by interpret. So then you can argue rhetorically. You can argue why can't judges be replaced by computers or AI equipment? So no judges. See, you have constitution, you have all the reports in front of the AI machine. Then that machine, that computer, that system will give the judgment. No, it cannot be done. There is a human element in judging. So, like a judge in the court, a decision maker is a human being who has to consider a number of parameters before a decision is taken. So, AI can at best be assisting the decision makers, and certain tasks can be assigned to simplify and make the process transparent and trouble-free. AI's help can be sought. But AI as decision-making apparatus is strictly not permissible because one day, if AI will replace the human intelligence. If at all there are, I have a hunch, if there are extraterrestrial intelligence surviving, that is unlikely to be carbon-based, that is unlikely to be silicon-based, that is likely to be AI-based. There is a biological brain that created AI once somewhere in the universe that runs like simulations. Through simulations, they can probably prosper. So artificial intelligence cannot take over the natural brain and natural decision-making apparatus, is what I say. But the controlled use of AI is very much the need of the hour. And the next question, it was about what was it, sir?
Motivating frustrated youth to democracy.
Oh, right. Frustrated youth. Yeah. See, this is, I think I have already given hints about how the frustrated youth. Frustration comes out in the form of sometimes slogans, sometimes a demand, sometimes a hate campaign, sometimes, some kind of hatred on campus and off campus about the system. If you're very critical, the best way is to identify the critical person and try to view him empathetically, and assign a task which he or she can perform, and let them learn through the hard way. But this is the complaint, and see, this is how it runs. And that explanation is not given most of the time. So that is why this hatred becomes frustration, and frustration will become a deep frustration, and that either the person leaves or becomes a perennial problem. So sometimes critical minds, remember, it is the critical, extremely critical minds that change the world for the better, not for the worse, for the worse also. So they see status quo oriented minds disrupted the world order. But critical minds changed. See how critical minded was Thomas Alva Edison, or every scientist for that matter. How critically minded is Stephen Hawking. So see, Elon Musk is, don't you think that Elon Musk is a simple person? Critically, extremely critically minded. Every successful industrialist is a critically minded person. And Ambani, Thiruvalla Ambani, was critically minded. That's why he tried and new methods. See, conventional standard, you are pleased with stereotypes, conventional minded people. So for a discipline-oriented regimen, of course, conventional-minded people who are yes men are needed in an institution. Everything is calm and cool, composed. But that's not democracy. Critical thinking. That is why I said about the Marxian paradigm of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Antithesis is a critical thing. It's just the opposite. And try that opposite. But that opposite also cannot work. Then there is a synthesis between the one paradigm and the opposite paradigm. And the new paradigm will emerge, which is a via media between the first and the second. So that is how the critical minds and criticisms can be productively gelled into the system. So don't have the ways of the critical people. I'm not saying that yield to criticism, not that. But let them realize that their criticism is not genuine, or if it's genuine, yield and do the change or make the changes. So this is how a frustrated youth can be. Then the frustrated youth may become, the Gandhiji was a frustrated youth, right? So he built, father of the nation was a frustrated man. Buddha was the most frustrated man, and he became the enlightened. His mind was troubled, right? He was a frustrated youth. Jesus Christ was frustrated youth, right? It's from the frustration. It's a positive thing. Frustration is never negative, my dear colleagues. Frustration is something positive. It is positive. Don't you think that, if you don't have tension, you can perform well with adequate tension? Without any tension, there's nothing. See, I was having tension because my Microsoft Teams was not working for nearly half an hour time. I was frustrated, right? I couldn't meet you. I thought that session was not going to happen. So this is what I thought. But the frustration will see, once the frustration is gone, the very best in a person comes out when that frustration module is gone. So allow the frustrated people and listen to them. Maybe they may be telling the truth. See, I can end. Before I end, let me give you one quip. See, a teacher was always complaining about a student who is standing up and a bit of an unruly nature, is sometimes looking here and there and a bit frustrated. All others were very silent and cooperative. The headmaster told the teacher, say, look, ma'am, see, you think that everybody is listening. Need not necessarily be so. He may be the only one listening to you. That is why he is asking certain unsavory questions. He is sometimes, resisting, because he is, at least you're communicating to one person. Now you want to exhaust or extinguish that little sensation from that corner. So what teacher are you? So maybe a frustrated person may be the only one proactively responding to a given situation. So frustration is always good, my dear teachers. Yeah, right?
Yes. So we'll also request, I think a lot of people have more questions, but we'll request all the participants to share their experience about implementing democratic education within their campus or classroom, so that we can put that in our magazine Pallikkutam in the July issue. So that will be a kind of anecdotal or story-based kind of thing that you want to share. So we'll welcome that also. And before we conclude, I just have one just one question to Dr. Mohan Varghese, because all these debates and rhetoric and dialogue is required because many of the problems don't have easy solutions in society. We require that kind of very consistent thinking, critical thinking, and going beyond that little problem solving. And I mean, that's a lot of intellectual capacity building required there. So do you think that our present education system is that refined enough to give that kind of a quality education right now?
This is sir. This is the million or billion-dollar question. Whom are we creating on campus? Are we creating a workforce, or are we creating citizens, better citizens? This is a big question. But now the modern education is all about fitting the bill, because you give a student proper training, equip them for the market. So this is the market economy. Now what is happening now is market economy, and the proper, so the education, as see, every student a human resource is to be chiseled, carved through the machine called or business establishment or machine called the schools and colleges, to cater to the requirements of the market. So that's one way of looking at it. The other school simultaneously asking for some kind of a chaos, some kind of an anarchy on campus, in which let them learn, let them be liberal, let them learn, let them not learn for job or career, let them learn for the sheer knowledge, let them learn. But can they have a life? So this is a paradox. The two extremes, this is a paradox in which we live. So therefore, from the part of the decision makers, how to combine these two values? You have to have human resources for the market, or not only for the market, for them also, because they have to earn their livelihood by the kind of skill that they earn or learn from the education institution. At the same time, they have to be responsible citizens also for nation building. So the curriculum is planned in such a way that these two ends are met. But unfortunately, the theoretical domination from a managerial administrative perspective dominate. But still, despite the new education policy, I am critical of the new education policy as well, because what kind of initiative do the students have? Now, at least students can leave after 1 year. If you are saddled with one goal, you can leave after 1 year. 2 years, you can leave with the diploma. 3 years, you can leave with the degree. 4 years, you can take an honors. And that option is given. Of course, the cafeteria system is coming on campuses. That is good, the practice. So some flexibility is there. But still, it is not power. See, I studied in the United Kingdom also for higher education. I was in Keele University. See, because the students, my classmates at the master's degree level couldn't read very, very fast, but they could think very fast. From India, I was a Madras Christian College product, MCC product. So I could write and write and write and write. In 3 hours exam, I could write 45 pages. My professor was absolutely flabbergasted. Wow, Mohan, how did you manage 30, 45 pages in 3 hours time? That too in reasonably fair handwriting. Said we are used to it, but none of them are used to it. But mind travels so fast. I'm not saying faster than Indian, not saying I'm not racial or anything, but still they have been from a letterland system right from the beginning, in which they learn a concept first. They get a smell of something, the taste of something, the color of something, size of something, before they learn about rhinoceros. They see a rhino first. Then the spelling rhinoceros. Here we learn to write rhinoceros or hippopotamus. And then, okay, after years, when you graduate, oh, this is how, oh, you've gone to a zoo. Oh, this is the hippopotamus that have had considerable difficulty in writing hippopotamus. Okay, this is the thing. So this is something, so logical and conceptual understanding is still missing. We flourish when we leave the country. Why? Indians have a canny knack of flourishing outside, but they have everything. They have all the theoretical knowledge. But given the free world, see, look at spelling bee test. Every spelling English spelling bee, right? Every spelling bee winner globally is an Indian. Every mathematical contest, everyone is a person of Indian origin, predominantly from India, right? Because you have a theoretical base, but given the free environment where your freedom to float is given, then the very best in you comes up. So therefore, I would ideally hope and pray that the education system will incorporate not only work practice, but also democratic conviction, and also the student initiative and conceptual frame of learning. Democracy, I repeat before I stop, democracy cannot be learned theoretically. To learn it through experience and conceptualize it and live it. Otherwise, no learning is complete unless you conceptualize it. The basic concept of democracy has to be driven in. What's the point in just saying about democracy and writing about democracy, getting good marks? No point. Be a democracy, be a Democrat, live democracy.